Hey, what's up guys? Matt here again with ubj.com, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a little video here for you guys today about industrial piercings and just some basic info regarding that piercing. I've noticed recently a lot of you guys have left some comments in the comment section below asking about industrial piercings and if we can put out a video on industrial piercings, just basic aftercare and info. And you know, we saw those and here we are. Let's do this. So the first thing that we'll talk about here is just jewelry size. What is the appropriate jewelry size to get pierced with? For me personally, I like to start all my industrials off with a 14 gauge, okay? Now, there are other sizes that I think work pretty good, but for the most part, the industry standard is 14 gauge. Now, for those of you who don't know, 14 gauge is just the thickness of the bar. Now, as far as the length goes, your length is gonna vary from person to person, okay? The only real important thing about the length is that you have enough room on either end of that post, or either end of your ear, I guess I should say, to allow room for swelling and draining and discharge and all that fun stuff, okay? So when you get pierced, your bar is going to be a little long, all right, and you need that. In around 2 to 3 months, that's when it's usually okay to change your jewelry, and that's about the basic time frame for healing industrial. You can downsize that bar. So you can downsize that bar to where it just fits your ear really snug and really tight. Unless you like the longer bar, you know. A lot of girls or guys, whoever get it pierced, they actually prefer having a longer bar. There's nothing right or wrong as far as like leaving that in there, but you will get the longer bar caught and snag a little bit more. It will get caught up in your hair a little bit more, a little easier. So I always kind of recommend around 2 months or so to downsize and get a little bit more snug, a little more fitted. When getting it pierced, you know, the best jewelry to get pierced with is usually like an internally threaded barbell. Try and steer away from externally threaded barbells. Not all, but most internally threaded barbells are made of like a more superior metal, higher grade metal, and so therefore they're going to heal a lot better, a lot faster, a lot easier. On that same subject, I know I just mentioned the healing times, but just to reiterate, your basic healing time for industrial piercing is around 2 to 3 months. Okay, now 2 to 3 months is going to vary from, it's going to vary from person to person, but 2 to 3 months is your standard or your average healing time. When you get your industrial pierce, know that first week is when the majority of your swelling is going to occur. They say 2 to 3 days you should reach your maximum amount of swelling, then it kind of goes downhill from there, but know that first week should be the majority of your swelling, and then after that you'll slowly see it start tapering off. One thing to kind of put out there with healing and healing times with industrial piercings is they're a little trickier than all other piercings. Because it is one bar hitting 2 holes together, you're going to have lots of ups and downs with it, okay? So you might have noticed 1 week it looks really good and everything, you're like, wow, it healed so fast. And then the next week it could be really swollen and pussy, and even notice some like hypertrophic scarring, or the common slang term for that is keloiding, little scar tissue bubbles kind of bubbling out the either end of the piercings. That's a really, really common thing, and there's a few things that could cause that. First off, you know, you really want to try not to sleep on it, okay? So try and do your best to sleep on the other side. 8 hours of pressure, it causes a lot of trauma to that piercing, and can cause a lot of things such as the hypertrophic scarring or keloiding and other problems. So do your best. Another thing too is combing your hair. You know, if you're brushing your hair, trying to catch and snag it. If you go to get your hair done, you know, I couldn't tell you how many times I've known girls who have gone to get their hair done and their hairstylist just catches and snags it and just yanks on it really hard. It really traumatizes it. So if you're getting your hair done, really just let your hairstylist know, hey, be really careful with my industrial, please. And then another thing also is, when you're in the shower, wash your hair, use your soaps, use your shampoos. When you're done, really rinse off that piercing. You know, after you've rinsed your hair off, rinse off that piercing really, really well. You just don't want to leaving that soap or shampoo or conditioner on the piercing itself, okay? So really go out of your way to rinse your piercing off when you're done in the shower. You know, on this whole subject of problems and keloids and all that other stuff, you know, I can't stress enough how important it is to go and get a piercing like an industrial piercing done by a professional piercer. Okay, I mean, for that fact, all piercing should be done by a professional piercer. But this one is really important because you really want those angles just right. If you're getting it done with really funky angles, then what's going to happen is it's just not going to heal. When you go and connect the piercings with that bar, it's going to have a lot of pressure pushing on the ear in different angles, and you're just not going to heal it. You're going to have a really, really hard time. And a good percentage of the industrial piercings you see out there, they're just like not looking so hot, and you know, they've had them for 6 months and they're just not doing good. A lot of times it can be traced back to the angles of the piercing and how it was done, okay? So really be conscious about who you're having do your piercings, all right? So that part I can't stress enough. So I would say, you know, after you've got it pierced, you definitely don't want to be changing the jewelry for the first 2 to 3 months. So 2 to 3 months would probably be roughly about the soonest you want to change your jewelry. And that goes for downsizing or just changing out to something fancier or something cooler. So there's a million different types of jewelry for industrials. It's one of those cool piercings where you just have a lot of options of cool stuff to put in there. But make sure you know your size. So once again, you know, 14 gauge for the most part, it's a pretty standard thickness. But you might have slightly different lengths, you know, and those lengths are going to vary from person to person. Your local piercer should be able to help you out to figure out what length is appropriate for your ear. And then from there, you just go crazy, have fun with it, and you can kind of put in whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Now, as far as like the aftercare for this piercing, it's really important to stick with like the general aftercare, the same as you would with any other body piercing that we talked about before, okay? And what that is going to be saltwater soaks. So those first 2 to 3 months, don't clean with anything but salt water. You want to do saltwater soaks on it like once or twice a day. No matter what anybody tells you, don't rotate and spin the jewelry. If you're doing that, it's just like picking out a scab. And then also, don't ever put like hydrogen peroxide or alcohol or Neosporin or Bactine or any of that stuff on there. I don't care how well your friend tells you that they healed using all those products. It's just too much of a gamble, too much of a risk, and it's not the right thing to do. Saltwater soaks is the best thing, hands down, without a doubt, the best thing you can do to clean your body piercing, especially an industrial piercing. Now, how to do saltwater soaks? Really simple. Just go to the grocery store, get a gallon of distilled water. All right. Now, that distilled water, everybody's seen it. It's in the drinking water section. Almost every grocery store has it. Okay. Once you get that gallon of distilled water, from there, go to the salt section. Get a non-iodized sea salt. A lot of non-iodized sea salt these days is labeled as all natural sea salt, but just make sure it's a non-iodized sea salt. Really important on that one. When you get home, 4 teaspoons of the salt to that 1 gallon of water. Okay, so you're gonna take 4 teaspoons of that salt, of that non-iodized sea salt, pour it into that 1 gallon of distilled water. You're gonna shake it up, and that's just gonna give you like a big jug to keep around the house. Okay, guys. So once you have that, store it around the house, and once or twice a day, you'll take like a coffee cup or a shot glass. Now remember, always glass or porcelain, never plastic or paper cups. Take that glass, fill it up with the saltwater solution. Now microwave for a few seconds, okay? Just barely. You want some body temperature, not too hot, not too warm, definitely not too cold though also. And you're gonna take that, turn your head to the side, dump your ear in there, and let it soak for a few minutes, all right? Luckily this one's just out on the outer edge of your ear, so it's a really easy piercing to soak. So just turn your head, soak it in there. And when I say a few minutes, I'm actually referring to, technically they say 7 to 14 minutes, all right? So around 7 minutes the minimum, 14 minutes is pretty darn good. So turn your head to the side, dump your ear in there, and just let it soak. That is all you guys are gonna do, nothing else. When you're done with that, you can rinse it off with some fresh water, and you're good to go, all right? Pretty simple, pretty easy, and yeah, that's it, you guys, okay? So basic industrial piercing 101, so hopefully that helps you guys out, and yeah, good luck with the piercing. Talk to you guys soon.